Briar Hill, Kenmore Place, Belfield, and North Brae Drive. A period of 3 years elapsed, during which time all these families were faced with readjustments. To an entirely new way of life, with many problems arising from a semi-rural and suburban area. Fortunately, these young couples had many things in common. Having served overseas gave them determination and courage to strive to bring many ambitious dreams to reality. Properties were further developed in a beautification program to enhance the area as a whole, rather from a desolate, open wilderness to a warm, friendly community. Playground areas were set up, associations and service clubs were founded. Neighbors became close friends, and the bond of respect and consideration for one another became deep-rooted. Major problems were minimized by group participation and the sharing of responsibilities. Spirits were aroused even further by expanding projects such as local civic endeavors, election of various officials, and school boards. They also assisted general area groups and individuals with planning improvements and work projects. It was during one of these, in particular, a fence was being erected to encompass the old St. Lawrence Public School on Huron Street at Barker. When a guiding force in the person of the late Reverend Petty of Knollwood Presbyterian Church pedaled by on his bicycle.
Sure can, Reverend. Ben, show him how to hammer his nail.
I'll do that. Yeah. No, Reverend, I'm just going to show you this once, okay? Well, you think you're good at this? Yeah. Well, you see, you just... You just fit that nail next to kind of a little starter hole, and you just put it in there, and then you just give it Gosh.
I don't think I can do as well as you.
Good try. I hit the wrong nail.
Why don't you just put your finger there now?
I'll let you use your divine guidance. You go ahead.
How's that?
Say, Rev, can you preach as well as you mend fences?
You betcha.
Well, we'll see. To be continued.
Upon hasty but warm introductions, this kindly man joined in and almost immediately became one of the group. Sharing in completing the task at hand, and he continued on together to work other undertakings at a mutual interest.
Well, it's now 1949. A veterans group have come to respect and admire the quiet but courageous Reverend Petty as a devout friend and willing fellow worker. began in the old St. Lawrence School, built in 1909. Reverend Petty of Norwood was chosen as guidance, referee, and counselor. The name for the church and Sunday school was St. Lawrence, named in relation to the district and school in which it had its beginnings and after a martyr of the early church in Spain.
In 1950, Reverend Petty prepared a progress report on St. Lawrence and made a recommendation to the Knollwood session and then to Presbytery to procure a site on which a church could be erected at a later date. The first anniversary service was held, but regular Sunday church services could not be held at this time owing to the limited time allotted Reverend Petty at St. Lawrence. 85 persons were in attendance at this service.
In November, the first official church service was held with Reverend Petty from Knollwood presiding in 1951. 10 charter members were in attendance, with 54 persons in total. 9 baptisms were performed.
Well, how are you today, dearie? It's good to see you. How are you? Now, what have we got here?
Well, I've got all my babies, and they really need to be baptized.
You did very gracious.
I know, some of them are like, I really do my best, but I know there's one without arms and that.
How in the world did you get up here?
Another one way down, and that's,
Oh, my
yeah,
gosh.
she's my friend. Do you think you could baptize all of them?
All of them at once?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, dear, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. I'll tell you what I do. Just wait here for a second, dear.
Okay.
You need a chair or anything? Are you all right? I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of burden, and I manage, I manage,
This was cesarean, I hope.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, dear.
In December of 51, a board of managers was elected to officially conduct the matters of the church.
Onward to 1952. In February, 10 chartered members were received into the church at a special service conducted by Reverend Petty. The Sunday school numbers had increased to 60. In March, St. Lawrence was established as a mission church under the supervision of the Knollwood session.
In 1953, at the congregational meeting in January, with the moderator of Presbytery and Knollwood session in attendance, 2 new members were received. 5 children were baptized, and the first communion was celebrated by the Reverend Petty. An offer was proposed to the school board to purchase 1 acre of land on the north side of Huron Street, 180 feet by 200 feet deep. The property was purchased at a cost of $1,500, and a sign was erected on the property to signify the proposed church site. Reverend Petty accepted a call in Western Canada, and St. Lawrence was left as a mission charge with supply preachers. Successful fundraising helped maintain financial stability. Regular services and Sunday school were continued with renewed hope and enthusiasm.
Now 1954. The Knollwood session agreed to be responsible for the St. Lawrence congregation, but asked Presbytery to relieve their minister of ministerial duties to St. Lawrence, except for supervision. They agreed to the erection of a new building on the St. Lawrence church site. Mr. Charles Falconer, catechist, was appointed to the charge of the St. Lawrence congregation.
Do you take debit, MasterCard, or Canadian Tire Money?
Cash only. Cash only.
Five.
That's like Canadian Tire.
Five, and 2, 7, 25, and 35, 45, and 50. 750.
$7.50? Is that all I get?
Well, if the gift's over 10, you can get 10.
That would be great.
A ladies group was formed. The Wellington Gun Club building, 30 by 40 feet, was bought for $1,000 and moved to the site for $800 upon completion of the excavation and foundation.
Very good looking building.
I think it will do nicely. Oh, I think we better get those bullet holes fixed, though. Well, let's get the negative.
Trustees were appointed. On November 22nd, the cornerstone was laid at a special ceremony. Reverend Locke placed the stone, assisted by Reverend Fleck, who gave an address. Reverend Pritchard presented the dedication. There were many in attendance, and special offerings were over $200. Now all that was needed was an oil furnace, electrical wiring, new roof, rear addition, front vestibule, stairs, steeple, windows, doors, and water, and so on and so on and so on.
1955, the St. Lawrence congregation was placed with South Missouri section with Reverend Kincaid as the interim moderator in charge. On June 10th, a dedication service and ceremony was held in the new church building with a capacity attendance. The St. Lawrence congregation had established the first new church to be open in 30 years and at a minimal outlay of just $8,000 for the land and buildings. Truly a major accomplishment. Reverend Petty returned to preach at the opening services. Shortly after his return west, he passed away.
St. Lawrence Presbyterian Church, Wellness of Morgan. I need more, I can't presented at the annual meeting. The first elders were elected to act on session.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Canada and all ships at sea. 1959, Mr. Charles Faulkner resigned and the entire responsibility of St. Lawrence was placed in the hands of Dr. William Barclay as minister under the Presbyterian Mission Board and London Presbytery. Pause. And now a word from our sponsor. This broadcast is brought to you by Cullenberg Wine Red. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. 59. A manse located at 1212 Hillcrest Avenue was purchased, and Reverend G. Gordier was appointed as the first full-time resident minister to St. Lawrence. Rev and Mrs. Gordier were actively involved in many church activities, and many new groups and initiatives came into being while under their leadership choir. Page 2, explorers, quilting, Christmas bazaars, and youth group.
In 1967, to celebrate Canada's centennial, the Sunday school children each donated 5 cents to buy a leaf for the Norway's maple, which was planted in front of the church. St. Lawrence returned to a 2-point charge following the departure of the Gordiers. We shared the minister with Knollwood during these years under the spiritual leadership of Reverend Duke, 1969 to 1978, Reverend Jones, 1979 to 1981, and Reverend Eaton, 1982 to 1988.
After the roller coaster ride of survival, we were able to burn the mortgage at a special service, May the 6th, 1973. Bill collectors at bay and maintain financial stability, a new fundraising idea was proposed by Obie Rosendahl. Let's sell Christmas trees. They would be fun, promote fellowship, be seasonal, and raise cold, hard cash to the work of the church. 150 trees were ordered and sold. This temporary fundraiser was the beginning of the Alpha Omega Men's Club, who continue to sell trees to date at approximately 1,200 trees per year. Now we have a representative here.
Welcome to St. Lawrence Tree Lot. This is the finest balsam fir tree in Ontario. Imported fresh 8 weeks ago from New Brunswick. Now I know what you're thinking, mister. You think that maybe this tree might be a little, well, you know, on the small side, but hey, in fact it's designed this way on purpose. You know that we're in a global world this day, and you know, and the world shrinks, and you've got many computers and microcalculators and everything else, and all is shrinking, and even corporations shrink, and your car is shrunk. And as you get older, other things shrink. You know, well, it just affects the environment, you know, and it affected the environment. So, but I want you to notice some of the specials of this tree. It's a beautiful A-frame shape, wouldn't you agree? And look, the stalk is nice and straight. And we didn't get carried away with the song. it's this way on purpose. It's kind of a Japanese thing. All the Japanese stuff is in these days. So this is one of your bonsai or balloon. It's a teriyaki. But look at the room you got for presents, sir. A meager Christmas, you mount it here. Medium Christmas, gala Christmas. What's that, sir? It's $10.50. It's $10.50. And I see you're wearing a nice Scottish plaid type scarf. And what's that? Oh, and you've got some Dutch in you too. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a few of those that hang around this St. Lawrence, and they'll give you a discount. Just because. And so it's only $9.99. And so shall I put this in your trunk for you, sir? What's that? You want a bag? I'll fix you right up, sir. I'll get that in the bag for you, sir. Hold that other end there, sir. And there, we'll get that in there. We'll get that in. Usually it's a two-man job. There we go. I'll tell you what, sir. Oh, by the way, it's 50 cents for the bag. I'll take that to your trunk for you, sir. Be happy to put it in there. Oh, I'm a lumberjack.
Determination and love present at St. Lawrence in its relentless efforts to be spiritual heart of its community.
Peel the apples for the pie, mix flour for the dough, then some shortening, roll it fine, and keep the orders low. Mincemeat, blueberry, and cherry are also on our list. Making pies for selling, we try to do our best.
I'll roll the dough. I'll peel the apples. I'll get the flour and the spice.
Great looking pies.
And no calories.
We've got love like
Yes, ladies, what can I do for you? Oh my gosh, the key for the church. Ladies and gentlemen, we rededicate this church to the glory of God and thank the Presbytery of London and the Presbytery of Canada for all the loans that they have given us.
Enthusiasm, dedication, and hard work. We hope to embark on our next
Welcome to our church. Let me tell you, I am so excited to be here. It's got to be the best place in the world. What do you think? It's a wonderful thing. What do you think, man? I think it's better. Duncan, what do you think? We're going to fill this place up. We're going to build on this place. Next week, we're going to take all this paneling down. After that, we're going to go downstairs. We're going to put a new bathroom in. And I'll tell you, we're not done yet. We're going to do things in this church. I mean, you look at all the people here, I think they all want to help. This gentleman right here, what do you think? Hey, I'll tell you, it's great to have you here. Well, I'll tell you, it's great to have you here, sir. You look like a terrific crowd. I'm so excited. Here's a collection of things. I think this has got to be the best place in the world. know, we were blessed come July with a new minister, and I'd like to introduce him to you now. The real Harold Collins.
He never failed those shows.
Says to me that we don't need him anymore. How wrong he is. I have to.